Jacob, should we give to charity?
Yep. Alright, so I did Should We Give to Charities? This is because of the occupation that I have right now, is I specialize in helping raise money for charities, do it about anywhere from 6 to 8 hours a day, and when you're involved with it, you learn a lot about the kind of, as sad as it sounds, kind of making profit off of nonprofits, and I dug kind of more deep into it, and that is how I came about this subject. So the amount of money that was raised by charities or given to charities, in the year 2017, Americans donated, just Americans, not corporations or anything like that, $410.2 billion to different charities. And the top three were education, which was $58.9 billion donated, human services, which has to do with like feeding the hungry, mental health, etc., basically your humanitarian sort of deal here, was $50.06 billion, and then the different foundations, which would be like the Bill Gates Foundation, etc., was $45.89 billion. And that just kind of goes to show how the rate of charitable giving has gone over the years. So the effectiveness of charitable contributions. One factor that really comes into mind here is who exactly are we helping, and do we really value all lives the same? This really goes to show that if there was a study done by the United Nations that said that in the year of 2003 it would cost about $30 billion a year to end world hunger around the world, but it's still staggering how it's a huge part of our lives. We hear about it all the time, but when you look at the amount of money given, nothing's really going to solve it. So, for example, for the valuing all lives equal, it costs $42,000 to train a guide dog for a blind person. And that's from the Guide Dogs of America. So, in reference, in Africa, there's a very common eye disease called trachoma. Basically, what happens is there's bacteria in their eyes that allows them to lose sight, lose vision, doesn't really allow them to go day-to-day lives. The surgery costs only $25 and is 80% effective most of the time. So, theoretically, if you were to give someone in America a blind dog for $42,000 donated, you'd be willing to restore the sight of 1,344 people with that 42,000. So that's 1,300 people over in Africa willing to restore their eyesight. Or would you rather give someone a blind dog, which of course they're helpful, but it doesn't restore their sight, and it's really about that valuing lives equal. Because when you think about charitable giving, it's about giving to the less fortunate, and that's pretty less fortunate. So in 2017, Guide Dogs of America had total public support, and basically donations is considered public support on the balance sheet because nonprofits can't show that they have profit. Otherwise, that ruins the whole point of their thing here. $10,496,955 is how much they raised. So if you were to take that back into consideration with the $25 for $42,000, that's for almost 420,000 surgeries that they would have done for one of the most common eye diseases throughout Africa. And that means technically you're wasting 99.93% of your donation, and like I said earlier, having a guide dog doesn't restore the sight of the blind person. So how much of your charitable giving goes to solve the problem at hand? One thing that the reason how charities, the people who run it, can put all their time into them is through administrative costs and fundraising costs. So charities hire fundraising companies to help them get gifts, which is charitable donations. It's more effective for them to hire a business that specializes in this sort of thing rather than doing it themselves when there's a lot more to worry about, like getting the life-saving work to the ground wherever this tragedy struck. So for example, there's a fundraising company called JAK Productions, and they raised $9.5 million for a numerous number of different charities in 2013. And at the end of the year, the company walked away with 88% of that money, which is $8.4 million, and only gave $1.1 million to charities. And that has to do with exactly what the charity itself allows for fundraising costs to be. And another example on a much larger basis is a fundraising company called Associated Community Services, which raised $30.4 million in 2013 for a numerous number of different charities. The company cut more than half, $18.9 million of the money raised, and only gave $11.4 million to charities. So at that point, it raises the argument, why wouldn't you give directly to the charity to avoid the high cost of fundraising expenses, which is where the administrative fees go in. But this graph right here goes to show about the reoccurring donors. So the first time they give, They get a gift acknowledgement, they're not really solicited too much or really into the ranks of cultivation. But then as you can see from month 2, their gifts start getting acknowledged and the solicitation goes up. So at that point, the people sort of feel like that their money's not going as far, but they're just trying to get more out of it so that the people themselves can benefit, like I said, almost making profit from nonprofits. And then how much of your charitable giving goes to solve the problem ahead continued. So administrative costs are investments in an organization's infrastructure and operations. And so for example, this can go to, like I said, the staff dedicated to accounting, human resources, governing board expenses, and management systems. So on a much larger scale, there's in 2011, there's a nonprofit group called Scottsdale League for the Arts, and the total overhead expense was 98.5%. So that has to do with administrative and fundraising costs. So with management and general expenses at 82% and fundraising costs at 16.5%, the CEO was getting paid only $78,454, which is still a lot just for running a charity, and that left only 2.5% for the operations to actually take place. And then on a much larger scale, we can take the nonprofit group that is well known, Wounded Warriors Project. The group is very effective in what they do, helping numerous amount of veterans to have success proven. However, when looking into the financials of the group, you'll see the total overhead expense is 27.5% and program expenses is at 72.4%, which overall the program expenses is still about 3 times the amount of the overhead expenses. But when you look up how much charitable contributions they've received, in 2017 the total amount was $226,764,438. So that means overhead expenses, that has everything to go back to the accounting, the CEO, the people that pick up the phone calls when you answer. $65,991,916, which is beyond staggering to think about. And the program expenses, which was $165 million about, which is still great, like I said, compared to other examples. But taking into account another very popular charity that does this related task, which is the Disabled American Veterans Charitable Service Trust, which had a total overhead expense of only 5.2% and program expense at 94.7%. And the sad thing is they only raised $10 million last year, and the overhead expenses went only $380,000 of that $10 million, with program expenses at $6.7 million. And then the difference between them were other things like setting up conventions, setting up ways to donate, be willing to get donors involved, etc. Which kind of really has to go back to that guide dogs versus the eye disease in Africa. Not really the value of life, but the value of popularity, and how exactly at what point do you really have to look into effectiveness versus popularity. So it was very hard trying to find a YouTube video for this, because a lot of them are trying to promote charities, because a lot of the times you don't hear about people not wanting to give but rather to give. So this was about the only video that I could find, but it does a really good side at trying to explain the economic side of charitable giving.
Cut the clip at 3 minutes, because you're not supposed to go over.
I'm going to
Yeah, I'm starting at 1 minute.
it's a cycle to continue, but also make matters worse. So 20% of the world's population, that's 1 in every 5 people in this world, are considered living in high standards of living. That means 20% of the world's population, including us, are living comfortably. So when we see a charity campaign showing an overly thin kid, you just say, give him some bread. Just give him some bread. Haven't you wondered why with so much bread given away, why they're still living in poverty? The answer is obvious. Does somehow giving away free bread solve poverty? Before the world's wealth emerged in countries like America, there were no charities. We achieved this point not by depending on others. We all heard those campaigns that tell us to donate money, but does donating money really solve world poverty, even domestic poverty in our own country? And sometimes this money doesn't even go to places where the effect is apparent. So firstly, charities are ineffective, as I have mentioned. Charities fail to target the real cause of poverty. They only target the symptoms. It doesn't require large amounts of wasteful donations. In the basic example, homeless people in our country need jobs. Charities don't provide sustainable jobs nor help them in the process of getting one. These are economic issues that take political and economic efforts to solve. It doesn't require every person to pull a spare dollar out of their pocket. A more effective way of solving poverty at home is simply spending our money. By spending our money, we create jobs, because one man's spending is another man's earnings. difference between spending money is and donating money is essentially spending money raises our own standards of living and at the same time creates productivity. In other words, employment, long-term employment. Steve Jobs was a man who, of course, used to be very wealthy, but he was no Bill Gates. He wasn't a renowned philanthropist. He said he would rather invest in Apple than in charities. He seems a little selfish, but let me explain. His investments to create jobs and bring new technology has brought many rewards to developing countries such as China or India, in which Apple has provided millions of jobs, and the money needed to invest in the money needed to invest in infrastructure and farming technology in countries like India or China, as I've mentioned, and to make farming technology to make food sources accessible. So at the same time, we also benefit from Apple's investment because we're also able to attain new technologies every year, such as iPods and iPhones at a cheap price. It is important also to note that money is not an issue. Central banks can print as much money as they want. The real issue is the amount of resources accessible.
So after looking into the video, there certainly is a lot of factors that can come into play for charitable giving, looking at the economic side where it kind of targets the symptoms rather than actually solving the problem, which further on in the video he goes about looking at when there is, let's say, like a hurricane or something that wipes out a place and you take into consideration the amount of people who need help, instead of allowing them to grow their own food or know how to make renewable energy, a lot of the times we just donate the products to take care of the symptom, which is the earthquake, rather than allowing them to get themselves out of the place they're at. Overall, there's a lot of charities that do good when it comes to the programs they run, but it's really the decisions behind the scenes that the bag comes in. And like I said, this ranges from those making millions from others being less fortunate, if there are actual solutions to problems existing being solved, and favoritism rather than fairness. And I don't think that it's bad to give to charities. I mean, they do amazing work. There's a lot of them that do great for us. And it's really just best to do research into the nonprofits and look at their effectiveness before giving and making sure you can financially support yourself before you try to help others. And then this is my works cited.